And recordings in progress. All right, all right, all right. So thank you everyone who will be tuning in to watch this recording. If you guys saw it live, we was having some technical difficulties. These things do happen, but as me and Hope was already said, there's always another way to do things. So enjoy the recording of everything. And today we have an amazing presenter. This is her first time, and she has an amazing story, right? Hope Reger is here, and she will be talking about how she got into this work and what she will be talking about at the conference. So, you know what I'm saying? You guys take a look at it, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel, let us know what you think. All right, today, Hope, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to see us. We're back. We're going to make this happen. I love
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. So where are you from originally, Hope?
Ohio. So I am from a little town outside of Dayton, Ohio.
Okay, okay. Been there once or twice.
Yeah, today, speaking of storms, it snowed. It's a little not unusual, but and tomorrow it'll be like 80. So
You know
it's
what?
like all four seasons in a week.
Y'all sound like Colorado, man. You know, because we get all four seasons in a day. We have a saying out here: you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change, right? You know,
Yeah,
and you'll go through it all. And so this weather is freaking crazy. Snowstorms, rain, flooding, all over the place. You know,
yeah.
you know, that's okay. These things do happen. It's kind of strange a little bit, you know. I feel like the Lost Boys song, you know, people are strange.
Totally get it. Totally get it.
So tell people how you got into this work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am again Hope Reger, founder and creator of Grief to Hope. I started my grief journey in November of 2016. I was the knock at the door, two police officers standing there, and oddly enough, they handed me a piece of paper and with the name and number on it, and said that the person on was trying to reach me. And so I figured if it was, something awful or traumatic, they would tell me, right? And so I walked inside, I dialed the number, and it was 6:30 in the morning, and I wasn't expecting anyone to answer. And the person on the other line answered Greene County Coroner. So that's how I found out that my 19-year-old son, he had gotten into a verbal altercation, which led to a physical altercation, which ended up being he was shot and killed by his roommate. And so that's how I found out that I had lost Justin to murder. And in doing so, over the next several months, as things happen with crimes, I was ready for the indictment. He had admitted to shooting and killing Justin, even though Justin didn't have any weapons or anything. And so I thought that justice would prevail for Justin. And when it didn't, all charges were dropped. He was never indicted because he pled self-defense.
Wow.
Um, and so, in doing so, as I was dealing with the grief of my son, I was also dealing with the crime, the justice, the frustration, the aggravation, the anger. Oh my gosh, there was so much anger that I didn't protect my son, as well as now justice had I failed at that too, and it all came to a head. And I remember the pit of my stomach just being so distraught and thinking to myself, what can I do? How can I honor my son in a way that he lived versus the way that he died? And so I had to make a choice, to either go on living in this hell, not getting out of bed, not having a reason, just like expecting what I expected was tomorrow was going to be the same as today, and that it was never going to change for me.
Right.
And so I had to make that decision to change tomorrow. And it took a lot of work. This didn't just happen overnight. As you know, grief, you go through several different phases and moods and levels and severity. And I talk to it, it's sort of like a heartbeat monitor, right? Like you have ups and downs, and then as time sort of evolves, there may be a little bit more lag in between those ups and downs, but it's there, it's constant, right? And so I had to make that decision, and it took me a while. And one of the greatest things was I found a grief group, a grief support group. It was Christian based, which I wasn't very educated with Christianity, and I'm still not. I'm still learning, but I realized it really wasn't the workbooks and such as much as it was being around others that were going through the exact same thing I was. And it wasn't your level was different than my level, or you lost your spouse, or you lost grandma, or it was, we were grieving, right? And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. No one's grief was worse than anybody's. Just because I had lost my son, it wasn't worse than somebody that had lost their spouse, or, so there wasn't no comparisons of grief, right? And that was really comforting for me. And so I knew that that program, that group, was something that really helped me heal. I'm never going to be completely healed, but it provided me with an outlet of being around others. So I knew I wasn't doing grief wrong, right? Like we all think, like I was like, this isn't the grief that I saw on TV. This isn't the grief that I saw Susie the neighbor do. This isn't the grief. Like I was worried because I wasn't in my bed in the fetal position crying every day, that I wasn't doing my son justice, right? Yes. And so I thought I was failing him, because I was thinking he's going to think I'm such a horrible mom that I'm not. I'm actually, I laughed at a joke or whatever it may have been, and yes. I thought, I'm not doing this grief right. I'm not doing this grief right. I failed him, and now I'm not doing this right. And so in learning in that group that there was no right way to do grief, it was almost to the point where I had to share my story to make sure that people understood that your grief is just as individual as your fingerprint or a snowflake. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And so in the past few years, I began developing this program. It's called Grief to Hope. It's 7 weeks. And we meet together for 1 hour. And what I'm going to be doing at the summit is I'm going to do sort of the condensed version of what Grief to Hope is all about. And so go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening to you. I'm great. I'm like, because this is exciting for me. Yeah, this is exciting.
I want to make sure we didn't freeze. Like,
no. I was like, yeah, go ahead, man. Because I love hearing about this stuff. I do. It excites me, especially when we have amazing people like yourself coming in and talking about what you guys are doing. I'm like a kid in the candy store. Yeah.
I love it. So Grief to Hope is like I said, it's a 7-week program. But what I do, like in the first part of Grief to Hope, I do an introduction to me, my story, my why, and how the program works. And then the next sessions 2 through 6, I walk through grief. And I start with G as gift of time. So we talk about how time helps. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes people want to rush you. Sometimes they're like, when are you going to get back to normal? And that never happens. Like, how does time affect your grief? And then we talk, R is for receive help. How do you ask for help? How did you receive help? How to keep asking for help, even though, let's say, the time's up in your grief journey. Like, why are you asking me to help you? And it's been 6 months or a year, kind of thing. How people are like, aren't you done with that? And so then I is for inspire. And that's the whole point of Grief to Hope. You have to have something that gets you out of bed every morning. That why, that purpose, that that tomorrow is not going to be the same as today purpose. And what I mean by that is like when you expect the same thing of the day that you had today, nothing's going to change. You have to change that way of thinking.
Right.
You have to find that inspiration that gets you out of bed, that motivates you to move forward in your grief. And then E is for expectations. Exactly. Like men and women have different expectations of grief, right?
Yes,
People have different expectations of men and women when they grieve. How do you handle, when people say, you know, shouldn't you be done with this? Like, or why are you need to step up as the man of the household and take charge and get this together and just stop your crying kind of thing. And we have different expectations of like what surprised us. Like I was surprised that I was like, there's different ways to grieve. Like I'm not doing it wrong kind of thing.
yes,
So
yes.
all different kinds of expectations. And then F is feel everything. And that one is just, I love the way that it's morphed. It's more like feel those special moments, feel those smells, feel those memories, get to know yourself, get to know, to embrace those things that trigger you, to
Yes.
embrace those things, like I was constantly getting upset when I saw somebody walking. And Justin never walked a day in his life. Like literally, if he was doing it right, I was giving him a ride. Like I'm like, why is that triggering me?
Right, yeah.
And so then I had to figure out, I had to associate with maybe it's the walks that we used to take. Maybe it's the walks that I took him to. Maybe he's walking with me, or maybe that's just a sign that say I'm here. So I
Right.
had to switch that trigger and to feel it in a different way. So, and then the final session that we do in the 7 weeks is to hope. And it's basically getting your mind to focus on that inspiration or that next small step that you want to take,
Hmm.
whether it's going through their things, whether it's going up to the grave, whether it's going to the gym, whether it can be something as small or as big as you want.
Right.
But it's moving forward in that direction to take you to that next step. And once you accomplish that step, the amount of power that you feel or start to feel empowers you into a different, it's just like the best feeling. Like I've accomplished this. I can move forward and accomplish many, many things. And that my life can now be honoring my son and allowing to live for the both of us in a way that um, I've never experienced before. Like I live now in the moment, whereas before it was always, I'll get to it, maybe one day, or I'd love to do that, but I'm too scared, or whatever that may be. When you start accomplishing these things and you know that tomorrow's may or may not come, it
Right.
gives you a whole different perspective.
Right.
And I truly am grateful for the amount of strength and courage that I've developed just within myself, just from doing small steps,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
that's what it's all about. That's what Grief to Hope is all about.
That see, I love that right there. I really do love that. And just a quick question. What about the conference this year? What excites you about it? Because I
Um,
know for me, it's seeing all of you guys together, what I'm saying, in one spot, doing your things, showcasing, educating people and things like that. But, like I said, you're a first time presenter. We got some veterans in there, and you see the way that we cut up. you
yes, yes,
you
yes,
see the way we cut up when we're in the meetings.
yes. One of the greatest things about the summit and all the people that you've got presenting is they all have just beautiful things to give. but they all have a story. And sharing your story, and I tell this in my group too, you may not know the impact of your story, and you may never know who that impact happens to.
Mhm.
But when you tell your story, it allows that one person to hear it that resonates with it and can
Yes.
understand and put themselves. So not only, you may not, with with losing my son may not resonate with somebody that may have lost their spouse, right?
Right. Yes.
But the stories are so incredible, and every single presenter has so much incredible knowledge that you will be amazed at all the things that you'll learn.
Oh man, I'm so looking forward, like I said, this is our second year,
Yeah,
and for it to keep going the way that it is and having so many great people with that, and we're expanding, the resources, we're expanding the knowledge, we're bringing a lot of new people. I mean, we have you there, you're talking about grief to hope and, how you lost your son to harm, it's people don't understand that our experiences is at their exposure,
yeah,
disposal,
yeah,
I love the fact that we are together and,
yes.
I'm saying, we're able to do this for another year and to bring so much more to the table. You know what
It's
I'm saying?
amazing because you have all these people together in one setting, right? Like you can't get this anywhere, right? Um,
No.
but the thing about it is, like you said, the exact same thing is we share our story because it's so important. And all of us could have, went along our grief
Oh
journey and
man.
not shared the story
Oh yeah.
and lived a great life, right? But we as coaches and teachers and people that just want to give, that's in our hearts, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
in our hearts that we want to share this. We don't want anyone to feel alone in any of this grief, right?
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. Like, I could not find, and we're going to have all these people together. I could not find, and you guys are all amazing humans, but I could not find somebody that felt or understood
Mm.
and was honest and transparent with their feelings. Because I think a lot of times we say that grief mask when somebody asks, "How are you doing?" "We're good, we're fine."
Yeah.
But with other people that are grieving, it's like we rip that off and we're like, "Let me tell you," right? Right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's like, is, like, be it like the Global Grief Network, right? You know what I'm saying? I had to plug that one in there because you're
Yes.
part of that as well. As someone, as a male that works in grief, I know what it's like to be alone. And most of us that go along this grief journey, we know what it's like to be alone because it's a very isolated journey, right?
Yes.
Depending on which direction that you go in. We were pretty fortunate to see the clues, and it actually unlocked who we were, to
Yes.
be able to help and educate other people and not necessarily guide them, but give them the tools so they can kind of figure out the guideline, for themselves. Because that's what, you can't do what someone else does and thinks that it's going to work for you.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's the beautiful part about it, and as a grief worker, they say grief is lonely, but doing grief work is lonely as well, right? Because we don't talk when we're around people that have experienced these things. Look at how we talk. We get excited about this, right? Now you put the average person that may be going through something, they hear us talking, and the first thing that they think is that we're weird.
Right. Right. Which is true, but besides that.
Yeah, and having a network where we don't feel out of place, where we can actually talk about these things, the jokes that we talk about, we wouldn't recommend for other people.
Right.
But that's just the way, because it's just like an artist, right? I couldn't go to a room full of artists and, or a music artist, a music artist, and think that I could talk the same language as them. They're going to be talking about B notes and C notes and doing bars and I'm going to be sitting around going like this. It's the
Right.
same thing with us, we now have a community where we don't have to feel like we're weird or outcasts because of the way that we talk and the understanding that we have.
Right. Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I think it's you're right. You hit the nail right on the head because when you are grieving, if you laugh and it's been 2 weeks, 2 months, you're
Mm,
actually like you feel like you're being judged.
right,
Like, oh
yes.
my God, they laughed and they just lost their son. Okay, well, that is a normal reaction. That's an everyday kind of life kind of thing. But you are judged when you're grieving. And what happens, we've talked about this in other episodes, like how you lost your loved one,
Mm.
if it was overdose or suicide. And so I think there's a lot of just a lot of judging that shouldn't happen, but it
This is
does.
very true. This is very, very true. Which, man, I am excited. Thank you for being here this year as well. We can have many more coming up as well. And for you guys that are going to be tuning in, if you want to hear Hope's whole story, go back and check out the podcast. She's on there. She has an amazing story, amazing journey. And so keep the date, April 28th to April 30th. 6 a.m. Mountain Time to 10 p.m. Mountain Time for those 3 days, and we have presenters. Oh, before we jump off, Hope, what day will you be presenting on?
I am Sunday, and I believe it's 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 12 p.m. Eastern Time,
Mm,
I think is how it works. Yes.
yes.
No, no, it's 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So I'm at very early for you early birds on Sunday morning, 8
Well,
a.m.
8 o'clock, 8 a.m., right? Which that's good. That is good too, I mean, you think about it, man, people are still going to be tuning in. We got a lot of great, platforms that we're going to be streaming from. So they're going to be checking us out, man. And I want you guys to keep an eye out for Hope. Hope, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at www.grief, the number two, hopesupport.com. That's my website. You can find my book there, and you can find my next series that's coming up in August, as well as all my story. Facebook and Instagram, Grief to Hope, Hope Reger, and LinkedIn, Hope Reger, Grief to Hope.
Nice, nice, nice. And if you could leave people with some inspiring words right now, what would you tell them?
We all have incredible hope inside us. Grief can hide it or it can guide it. That's one of my quotes.
I love that. And for you guys that are tuning in, again, save the date. The Global Grief Network 2023, our second annual event, will be happening April 28th to April 30th, 6 a.m. each day to 10 p.m. each day. And we have a lot of amazing presenters up there. So you guys bring the family, pop some popcorn, listen to some amazing stories. There's going to be some podcasters. There's going to be some workshops. If you name it, we got it out there for you guys. So, what I'm saying, this weekend is dedicated to you and serving you and helping you along your grief journey. I am Tony Lynch. I am your host of this year's Global Grief Conference. And as always, thank you for allowing us to support you. We love you. Keep your head up. And if you guys are struggling, reach out, please. Don't try to do this alone, because this is one of those things that you need a partner to walk with you. And so love you guys, and we'll see you soon.